that trip of President Biden landing in South Korea, taking his first journey to Asia since taking office, hoping to reinforce Indo-Pacific ties amid the Ukrainian war. And the first leg of his trip, touring a Samsung plant, advocating economic security as the U.S. continues to fight global supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic. This trip comes at a critical time, too, for Biden's foreign policy as the region continues to grapple with China's rising influence and threats of nukes from North Korea. Let's bring in our ABC's Britt Clement. She's in Seoul, along with White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks for more. So, Britt, this semiconductor shortage that has contributed to soaring inflation across the globe. President Biden holding this Korean plant up as a model for one opening in Texas. How significant is that when it comes to straightening ties in the region?
Well, that factory will be replicated in Texas as part of Biden's push for homegrown manufacturing, showing how the U.S. and South Korea are committed to combating resilience of supply chains. Now, Biden said this is critical so that the U.S. economy and national security are not dependent on countries that, as he said, don't share the same values. Now, Biden is here to rally friends and allies of the U.S. like Seoul, who historically they have very strong ties that have only grown stronger, especially with the looming threat of North Korea. Now, it's important to keep in mind that although Russia's invasion of Ukraine has dominated much of Biden's attention lately, this trip, his first to Asia as president, is part of Biden's aim to refocus attention right here.
So, Mary Alice, President Biden clearly hoping to lay the groundwork here for a new trade partnership as we talk about all the issues impacting us, the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. What's his message on that, and what impact could that have?
Yeah, Kira, this is starting to be pitched as basically an alternative to the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership that the U.S. dropped out of in 2017 under former President Trump. Obviously, Japan was a leader in that, and so many of these Asian allies were so disappointed when the United States dropped out. This is still very new, and the United States is making a point of saying it would be a very different, they claim, much more modern trade agreement, less focused on tariffs and more focused on things like supply chains and economic security. I think the message is clear and one that Britt was talking about, which is that these economies are so intertwined. The U.S. consumer has been feeling that in this last year with these supply chain issues, and the United States wants to make sure that these trade relationships are still very strong.
So, Britt, now North Korea is struggling to contain this massive outbreak of what analysts suspect is COVID. The secretive nation now reporting more than 2.2 million people sickened with fever. How could this come into play during Biden's meetings and journey here?
Well, you know, Kara, when it comes to North Korea, there's almost always a degree of guessing. Some analysts say that the very fact that the North is reporting these cases, even if they are likely under-reporting these cases, means the situation is really bad. It could also be a sign that it does need help. We know Seoul reached out with assistance but got no response, and it is very unlikely Pyongyang would ever accept help from the South because that would be seen to be humiliating. But South Korea's main news agency, Yonhap, it cited sources saying cargo planes were sent into the country from China, of course, its strongest and closest ally. So if the North were to go ahead with a nuclear test, it would be a case of this and COVID happening at the same time. Kim Jong-un is so determined in his nuclear goals, the pandemic is unlikely to get in the way, at least for now, at least.
All right, and finally, Mary Alice, after South Korea, President Biden will travel to Japan. We've talked about that. He's going to meet with other leaders of the Quad nations, Australia, India, Japan, as we mentioned. What's at stake in these meetings?
Yeah, a lot of security concerns. Obviously, China looming large. The Australians have been really focused and frustrated with a growing sort of Chinese expansion and military operations nearby. One interesting thing, obviously, as Britt's been tracking really closely, Australians are set to vote tomorrow, so it'll be really interesting to see who exactly is included in this meeting. Kira.
All right, Britt, Mary Alice, thank you so much. We will follow the details from the trip.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.